Episode 6 of the Mandalorian. Listen, man, I didn't mean to be laughing in your ear like that. Listen, overall, I enjoyed the episode. I acknowledge it was goofy, okay, but I'm not going to go there the way some fans were. I was listening to some of the reaction pages and that sort of thing, and man, people hated it. And I get it. You know what I mean? Lizzo, Jack Black, Christopher Lloyd, right? Just making these cameo appearances out of nowhere. Listen, man. Would you prefer that it was just some random person as opposed to, Jack Black, just a random guy? I mean, if they're going to do the scene and have that planet, I forget its name. I can't keep up with the name of these planets, man. And then Kumquat or Sashquat or whatever place Lizzo sent the guy to, I can't keep up with it all. But I'll watch it again, and I'll probably be more accurate with the names. But if they were going to have, a kingdom there, and they went the route of having, Bo-Katan and Din Djarin meet up with the renegade Mandalorians out there in that period, and that was the way they were going to do. What does it matter, if they use Lizzo and Jack Black as opposed to just, some random actors, man, that just got out of acting school or something who are unknown? Like, what does it matter? Does it being Lizzo, does it make it goofier? And maybe in some people's minds. To me, it doesn't matter. And I guess also, the way I see Star Wars, I never saw Star Wars as being above goofy stuff. I don't get it the way this series or this franchise is kind of being judged these days. Back in the day, I always thought C-3PO was goofy. I always thought the Ewoks were extremely goofy. So I never saw this franchise, even under Lucas, as being above, goofy stuff and, a little bit of humor. And it still was awesome, even the way people judge the fight scenes now. Like, did you really watch the fight scenes on, I think it was Empire Strikes Back when Luke saves Leia from Jabba the Hutt? Not sure if that was Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi, forgive me, but it was really goofy if you look at it, but that didn't stop us from liking it. But now it's judged on this scale that I don't think is consistent with the way Star Wars has been. That's not to say the writing is perfect. That's not to say the storytelling is perfect. I mean, all of the stuff has its holes, we could poke into it. And there are some holes that could be poked into this. I would have liked to kind of deal with Moff Gideon. I would say that was probably the thing I expected that this episode lacked. I'm surprised that, these Mandalorians that Bo-Katan ran into, I'm not surprised that she went to go get her fleet, but I'm kind of surprised that this particular fleet have nothing to do with Moff Gideon. So that tells us there's a whole nother sector of Mandalorians out there that we'll deal with possibly who have some ties to Moff Gideon, whether it's hired by him or kidnapped him to bring him justice, or it could be a setup of the Mandalorians. Of course, we don't know. I was hoping that we would get some answer on that this episode. That didn't happen. Other than that, the run with the robots, where Den is kicking the robots and, they fight them. I didn't have a problem with any of that. I just found it humorous, and, humor is fine for me when it comes to Star Wars. I like I said, I don't see this franchise as setting itself up, having ever set itself up to be beyond that sort of thing. All right. Now, when it comes to Ben and Bo-Katan's relationship, I don't know, man. I don't know. We see she does receive the Darksaber from him. On a technicality, what I'm kind of wondering? When we saw the, the reports of the interview done by one of the double, the doubles who played Din Djarin, the guy, the stunt double, he talked about an intense scene between Bo-Katan and Din Djarin. But he also gave the caveat. He said he's not sure which scene they're going to go with. So what I'm kind of wondering was there a scene where Bo-Katan fought the guy she fought? Again, forgive me for not remembering his name, but the guy that was part of her fleet that she ended up fighting. Was there a version of her fighting him? And then maybe there was a version of her fighting Din as well. And they went and decided to go with that. That's what I'm kind of wondering now. So, in other words, I don't know if this scene is something that's yet to come up, where this intense scene between Bo and Din, which didn't happen. There was nothing intense. Or did they scratch it in favor of what we did see? That's what I'm kind of wondering. So, but of course, if the former is true, then we should be expecting to see something like that within the next 2 episodes. A scene, whether it is a physical altercation or a romantic encounter, whatever, we'll see. All right. Overall, man, like if I was to give an episode a grade, I'd say I'd give it about a solid 7. I mean, it had decent action. I don't think the storyline is so overwhelmingly all over the place like people think. I mean, they basically what they were trying to do was reunite Bo-Katan with her fleet, which is a much needed fleet. I like the size of the fleet. I had no idea she had that much under her control. All we saw in the past was her, Costa Reeves, and the other two. And it looked like she didn't really have much going on. But now you see that fleet. If you combine them with, Din's, the Children of the Watch, that sect, they look to be a very formidable, army right now. If I could call them that. Very formidable. So I'm guessing they're probably going to unite them and then have a showdown with Moff Gideon. Some people have theories out there, and theories are just always going to be there, that maybe Admiral Thrawn comes up. I'm not so certain that that's going to happen or that they have to do that. Because unless maybe Thrawn is the one that saves Gideon. And I can see Thrawn doing something like that because Thrawn is very calculating. He's the type of guy that would have the mindset to frame someone. I can see that, but I just haven't seen enough indications for Admiral Thrawn to go with that, right? So I'm assuming it's just going to be a showdown with Moff Gideon and his forces, perhaps within these next 2 episodes. I doubt they'll save something like that for next season. That would be ridiculous because we don't know how long it would take for that to happen. So I'm guessing, okay, Bo-Katan goes here, unites, gets her fleet, and then they kind of go out and set up a showdown with Moff Gideon and his forces, whoever that may be, whatever that may look like. That's what I'm guessing is going to happen. So Din Djarin, what I'm interested in seeing, this is what I wanted to talk about too. Whether or not Boba Fett is going to make an appearance. That wouldn't surprise me, because even when you go back to the first episode where Din goes and he visits the mechanic lady, one of my favorite characters in the series, she's hilarious. She mentions about, are you going to ask him, are you going to challenge Boba Fett or something like that? And this is just mentioning him. I would love to see them go back to Tatooine. I would love to see them go back to Wespa and all those different places, man. Boba Fett was actually one of my favorite series. I know a lot of people didn't like that, man. Some of you guys are tough and rough. You don't like anything, man. I loved it because, Boba went from being this bounty hunter, which is a low-life criminal, gun-for-hire guy, to being, a boss, man. Hey, a boss. And you figure if, they can bring him into the fold, that brings his troops, that brings, those under his command, that brings the that big animal that he has, and all of that, man. That would be hot. You know what I mean? So I'm interested in seeing if that would happen. I don't expect to see any Ahsoka Tano. I don't expect to see Luke Skywalker again. At least not here. I just don't see the setup for it. You know what I mean? So yeah, man. Let me know what you think of this episode. I do understand the people who didn't like it. You know, there were some goofy elements to it in my first watch. When I watched it again, I didn't have as much of a problem with it. You know what I mean? Yeah, just let me know, man, what you think. Maybe I'm off base. Maybe I'm losing. I'm just off. Like I said, I'm more of a casual. But that's my take on it, man.